It seems like Dead by Daylight players complain about one thing more than tunneling, and that is balance. And it feels like after every update, Twitter, Reddit, all of them just explode with
Oh, the game's killer-sided. Oh, the game's survivor-sided. Oh, behaviorally listens to killer minds. Oh, behaviorally listens to survivor minds. It's like listening to toddlers.
It's like at this point I'm convinced if Behaviour added a perk that instantly gave everyone 2 million blood points, someone would still complain that the animation took too long. So we're going to go throughout all of Dead by Daylight's history and see whether or not the game has been more survivor-sided or killer-sided. If you only started playing recently, you have absolutely no idea how ridiculous old Dead by Daylight was. Old brand new parts could instantly delete generators, infinite loops existed because there was no window block, old Dead Hard could literally destroy killers, it was a mess. And back then, the only killers you had was Trapper, Wraith and Hillbilly, which meant you didn't even have any ranged abilities to use on survivors on the infinite loops, which has made it even worse. Honestly, if modern survivors had to play 2017 Killer for 1 week, we'd probably see national outrage. And back then, that was the tip of the iceberg. The hatch could spawn at 2 gens remaining, which meant everybody could escape from the match. If you sabotaged a hook in game, the hook would never spawn again. If you killed a survivor on the hook would not spawn again. And games could end in awkward messes where one survivor has destroyed all the hooks nearby and also held the game hostage by just sitting in a corner the entire match. But I mean, hey, they said they were doing a pretty
good job so far.
So I mean, it's no secret that Dead by Daylight has had its fair share of issues from the beginning, and honestly, it might be even worse now. It feels like every time a survivor perk becomes popular, instead of nerfing it, Behaviour decides to make a stronger killer to combat it, which sounds good, until you realise you play against the same killer every single game, and you can't change whatever killer you want. You can't play as Ghostface because you like Ghostface, or Freddy because you like Freddy, because they are terrible. Like, unless your killer has mobility or a ranged attack, you're kind of cooked against any survivor that knows what they're doing. Especially now that we've got such complex killers like Dracula or Vecna with like 30,000 different powers, when it used to just be Blight and Nurse that were the scary ones to go against. And new killers are stuck in this limbo of just dash slop because there isn't any other method that works against Survivor. And instead of Behaviour fixing the root cause of the problem, which is just strong Survivor perks, that especially when you've got Survivor friends that synergize it well. Instead of doing that, they decide to just make a stronger killer to combat it, which then causes other killers to be forgotten, then needing reworks, like Michael Myers needing a complete dash stop rework. Since when did Michael Myers have a dash? And if you aren't running an S tier killer like Nurse, Blight, or the Ghoul, and you're not running the meta builds like Pain, Rares, Grim Embrace, Deadman Switch, you literally cannot win. It is physically impossible to win against survivors that know what they're doing. So, is the game killer-sided? Well, I'm going to backtrack here and annoy absolutely everybody. Yes and no. Because the average Dead by Daylight isn't high-level Dead by Daylight. High MMR games are not the same as the average game in Dead by Daylight. We've all been there in solo queue. You know, one teammate is already urban evading around a rock, while another is cleansing a dual totem because apparently it's a spiritual journey, and the teammate working on the gem with you misses 5 skill checks in a row just because. And instead of being a game about survival, it's about, can 4 strangers actually work together? And the usual answer is no. Can you have decent solo queue teammates? Yeah. However, the communication isn't there, and that is a key thing in Dead by Daylight. And obviously the developers didn't intend for this originally because there was no notification of what your teammates were doing in the old game. There was no gen progress bar and no healing bar that you see now. Whether survivors can just bypass that altogether by just getting a Discord call, telling the teammates what killer it is, where he is, what he's using, what perks he's running, etc. And that's where the problem is. Survivor friends are absolutely terrifying. Because instead of your teammate leaving the gen to go save you, you can just tell them, stay on that gen, complete the gen, I'll be fine. Or don't go to save him, I've got reassurance, for example. Which then, congratulations, you just removed half the killer's mind games. Now, I'm a firm believer that information wins games, and survivors literally generate that information for free just by using Discord. It's like having a team full of constant stream snipers just because one person's in chase. And this helps survivors keep immense gen pressure the entire game, which means after you get 1 down, 3 gens pop, and all of a sudden the X gates are open. And you pair all of that with the pallet density update, which meant every single map has triple the pallets that it used to, you have a really, really hard time as killer, especially one that is mainly an M1 killer, like Ghostface, Trapper, Hag, etc. Okay, I've spoken enough about it being survivor-sided. Now these are reasons why it's killer-sided. First and most obviously, you've got the gen regression perks, which are absolutely insane in today's game. Pain Res gets rid of 25% of progress every time you hook a survivor. If you pain that with Pain Res, it forces a survivor off the gen for at least 30 seconds. And then if you pair that with Grim Embrace, it forces all survivors off the gens for a minute. In that time, any half-decent killer can get about 4 downs. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but you get my point. Or you've got the undefeatable Hex builds, or you've got undetectable builds, or you've got aura reading builds. It all adds up. There's so many builds for killers that work. On top of that, half the killers have all these builds in their base kit. For example, with the new killer Jason, he's got the gen regression as one of his add-ons, he's got the invisibility with his teleport, he's got a ranged attack. What else can he do? He's got blood favourite pellets. You've got Nurse, which completely ignores every single resource that the survivor has. You've got Blight, who literally runs faster than Sprint Burst. And you've got the Ghoul that can literally just block every single pallet or window before you even get to it. And that's not mentioning his stupid first hit. So yes, some killers have it bad. It's completely unfair to say it's solely survivor-sided when you got killers like Nurse, Ghoul, and Blight absolutely running the game right now. But then what's the point of adding a new killer if it's only the same 3 killers that get used, because they're the only 3 killers you can use in order to win? Now let's talk about the elephant sitting in the room, or should I say the dinner table, the Black Banquet event. On paper, the event is actually quite fun. It sounds quite fun. Survivors get food, killers spread poison. Simple. Except survivors also get mobility, healing, invisibility, teleports, free item refills, utility, team combos, it's faster gen repairs. Killers, well, they get poison. What, you're waiting for someone else? No, that's it. It feels like being a kid on Christmas morning, okay? Your sibling gets PS6, a new car, a holiday to Japan. You unwrap your present, you get an orange. Sure, it's useful, but it's still just an orange. Let's be fair, the poison is quite useful. It wastes survivors' time, it creates pressure, and it allows you to force decisions from the survivors. And against average survivors, it works. However, against organised survivors, they know exactly how to counter the poison by just shift spamming, which is pointless if you're trying to get a win in this game mode. Especially trying to get used to that event when it first came out, it was absolutely abysmal as a killer. And let's not forget the insta-healing ability that they've got. Oh my god, you'll spend 2 minutes in chase, you finally get the down, and all of a sudden, insta-heal. And I've got invincible pallets, which means every loop is now an infinite for a minute, which means you cannot get it down for a minute, which means there's no pressure, which means I complete 3 gens in that time, and all of a sudden you've lost the game purely because someone has placed a dinner cart on a table. For the average survivor, it's an absolutely brain-dead event, okay? But when you're with a Swift, when you're with a proper good survivor team, the event is just a cakewalk. Pardon my pun. I don't think anybody knows what behaviour are thinking with this event, especially for such a big anniversary. But hey, we can't question them, can we? So who is actually stronger? Well, here's my take. In average matchmaking, killer, easily. But in high MMR solo queue, still probably killer. However, in a competitive 4-man survivor with friends, it's undoubtedly survivor. They just have far too much at their disposal, and the information they can share with their teammates completely negates some perks, like, for example, Kindred. This means they can use perk slots that would have been taken by perks like Kindred for other more chase-oriented perks or more gen speed-oriented perks. And it causes a really rough time for killers, especially ones that are just trying to play the average match. So unless as killer, you're playing, Ghoul, Nurse, Blight, and you're in a low MMR lobby, you'll probably be fine. However, the issue comes when you play in the high MMR lobbies that most killers nowadays are in. And I think instead of reworking killers to make them better, I feel like they should nerf more survivor perks and also add more quality of life changes to the game in order to make the older killers better and more viable to play as. Everyone's sick of playing against the same killers, everyone's sick of playing as the same killers. It's just not fun at the moment. I miss back in the day where I'd see an impossible skill check doctor build every so often, or a pig build every so often, but now they're just impossible to find purely because it's, it's not viable in this state of game. But yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Drop them in the comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed. I stream on Twitch under the same handle, so I hope to see you there one day.